Welcome all, we are Sub3Second. We're going to be reviewing the Australian GP qualifying session from today. So Aman, what's your thoughts on qualifying today?
I didn't expect it to go like it did. It was pretty good. Charles on top, so I'm happy. I thought Max would get it. Perez looked great all weekend. Max and Charles didn't look that great through the free practices. But you know what? That's where the quality just shows, mate. They nailed it.
It does show. When it push comes to shove. I think what Charles was saying is that through FP2, FP3, he just couldn't put the lap together. Q1, Q2 couldn't put the lap together. But actually, he managed to put all those segments together in his final run in Q3. But at the end of the day, the cream rises to the top, and that's why these guys are at the elite. So let's go straight into it then. Let's discuss the pole sitter, Charles Leclerc, by 2/10. Talk to me.
The only driver in the 1 minute 17s, so based on that, deserved it. As in, he pulled out that single individual lap better than anyone else and by a fair margin. I think it's 3/10 ahead of Verstappen. I don't think Verstappen lost the 3/10 on the last corner, but they were neck and neck and he just pulled it out.
Interesting you say that. There was footage of a side-by-side of both Charles and Max. And I don't know if you saw it, Karun Chandok did a pretty awesome piece,
it was a good piece
on his own, and then with Charles. And actually what it showed is that Max, they were quite neck and neck. And in the final sector where Ferrari is meant to be stronger and is stronger, Max was actually in front. And it was only until the last two corners. Now, I think a lot of that was down to the sun. The sun was at such an awkward level due to the red flags that it was just in that gaze area, and they were getting that glare. Actually picking your point of reference must have been super difficult, and I think Max just overcompensated, whereas Charles was a bit more daring and just nailed it and actually picked up those 2/10. He was probably a tenth behind, and in just those two last corners just picked up those 3/10.
You can look in half a car length in the braking zone, and Charles said it himself. He said that he didn't know where the track limits were, so I'm guessing, close your eyes and pedal to the metal. Nailed it.
There was another piece I saw, actually, just to go off topic. It was Valtteri. This is back in his Mercedes days, and he was sitting on a chair with his eyes closed and visualizing. I think it was Spa he was visualizing. Yeah. And just with his eyes closed, with his hands out as if he was on an imaginary wheel. And it's crazy. These guys know
it's insane.
These tracks like back of their hand, and they're able to just feel it, their muscle memory that they have, the amount of time they do in the simulator as well.
It is.
But that's what it really came down to for Max and Charles, and some of the other drivers I think complained about the glare as well. I think Hamilton complained about it. I'm pretty sure Ricciardo complained about it as well.
Everyone in Q3 did. I mean, the only other guys I've seen who train muscle memory learning the track, Jamaican bobsled team from Cool Runnings. So but no, it was mad.
But they came third, didn't they?
In truth, I don't know. I've only watched the Disney film.
What? Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they came third in the Disney movie. But okay, Charles Leclerc, deserving pole sitter.
I think he's the only one who put the lap together. So just based on that, yeah, probably deserving. Yeah, cream rises, as you said. End of.
Yeah. Who do you think missed out on pole? I mean,
Alonso.
The obvious Max Verstappen.
Alonso.
But, okay, talk to me. What about Alonso then?
He was killing it. He looked on target for a low 115. Lost the rear on that turning. 115? It looked a bit strange.
A low 115 is like...
Sorry, 118.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think he would have been top 3. I think he was pulling it out of his backside. It was nice to see this aggressive Alonso, take no prisoners, push the limit on the curbs. And when you look at the differential throughout Q1 and Q2 to Ocon, he was miles ahead and, punching above his times, challenging Leclerc, splitting the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. He's doing well.
Yeah, do you know what? I overlooked Fernando Alonso, but you're right. His final hot lap in Q3, I think he went purple-green and was just in the final sector. I think, what was the issue he had there? Because he did crash out.
He said that he crashed out. So from what, my interpretation was that He turned in, braked fine, turned in, I'm guessing using some engine braking. He says the wheel went heavy and he couldn't shift, so I don't know if he wanted to downshift and then drive out.
So it might have been hydraulics then.
But hydraulic, probably hydraulic failure. He claims hydraulic failure.
I'm guessing if he...
They're probably never going to tell us, but, the guy he could have made that corner with some drive out. It seems to just drift. And then when you're in the gravel pit, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there was no coming back. I think he hit his front left as well. But not only that, if he's saying that his power steering went and he wasn't able to downshift, that to me sounds like loss of hydraulics, which is a shame because another thing with these Formula 1 cars is they don't just use the brake pedal to brake. They actually use something known as engine braking. And what that is when they're downshifting, the engine has this retardation that actually slows the car down. Your revs go up as a result, but it slows the car down. And something that the drivers use is this downshift, this heavy downshift, as well as braking into the corners. So that's probably why he went deep, and as a result, was in the gravel. I hope the damage isn't that bad.
No, it didn't look that bad. It wasn't like Vettel's.
Yeah, Vettel's was pretty bad.
In truth, I don't know how the Parc Fermé rules work between quali and the race. I think they can probably get it all done if a steward's watching, right? So should be okay.
Yeah, I think as long as the setup is not compromised, I think they should be all right to repair. I think you're allowed to repair like for like. Yes. In Parc Fermé, so I don't think they have any issues with that. The only thing that they may have an issue with, depending on the damage, is the curfew. And obviously there's a curfew from Thursday, Friday night, Saturday night as well, which means that they might have to break that curfew to work through the night to just get that car in a reasonable state. Because let's remember, it's not just physical damage that car's had on its front left, potentially suspension on the front left as well. It's actually that hydraulic issue, if that's what it ends up being, that they need to resolve.
For sure. The other thing that changed the entire look of quali is they removed one of the DRS zones from free practice 3. So, I mean, we didn't expect... Alonso looked good all weekend, and I think that may have added a bit of a shuffle to the top 10. We don't know where it's going to go from now, because everything we watched in FP1, FP2 doesn't count as much, There's a variable been removed.
Who do you think were the big winners and losers out of the removal of that DRS? I think it was the 4th DRS zone, wasn't it, for safety reasons?
It could be anyone. All the teams hid a lot of pace during the free practices. Like the softs were only 2/10, maybe 3/10 at a push faster than the mediums. So everyone hid their pace. They knew what they were doing. And then I think it's a bit of fun. It's like roulette, spin the wheel sort of thing, and let's see how it changes the whole grid up. I don't think anyone really won, anyone lost. Even if it's been removed, let's be dead honest, it's the same patch of tarmac and everyone's going to race on it. Did it suit some cars more? Well, I know that the Mercedes changed their wings. I think they had the Saudi spec and then the Bahrain spec, or did a split wing. So Hamilton had the Bahraini spec. I think Russell had the older one, skinnier rear wing.
I think they were probably doing a split strategy, just to kind of get the learning from this weekend. I think having them both on the same strategy and same equipment is just a waste of resource for the Mercedes team at the minute. But the other thing I'll say about that removal of that 4th DRS zone, there's a lot of porpoising that's happening in that final sector because of the long straight. You're flat out throughout there. And one thing that's notable is when the DRS is opened and reduces the drag, actually it lessens the porpoising on the cars. So I actually think that Hamilton and Russell and actually the Ferraris were less fortunate with the removal of that DRS zone. Not only their straight line speed for the Ferraris, but actually, you've seen the Red Bull. It doesn't have much porpoising at all. So actually weren't affected, but certainly from a porpoising perspective, I think the Ferraris and Mercedes were certainly affected. I can't really understand it from a safety point of view why they would have removed it, but they've got the data and they've obviously made the decision. I think they made a decision with the drivers collaborating in and obviously giving their feedback as well. Let's move on then to surprises in the top 10 from yourself.
There was no Alfa Romeo, and it's only a surprise because Bottas has been driving out of his skin. The others, it was nice to see a McLaren back in there, both of them. There were only 5 teams in there, 2 cars from each. Alonso could have finished significantly higher if he managed to complete the lap.
The only surprise I would say from myself is not so much of the teams, but certainly Valtteri and K-Mag missing out. I was pretty surprised K-Mag, going out in Q1 and Valtteri in Q2 for the first time since he actually joined Mercedes, where he didn't get into Q3. That was pretty surprising for me.
I wasn't aware of that record, and it was mind-blowing. It was insane.
So the surprises, who else? I was also quite surprised with the AlphaTauris. I think they underperformed.
Yes.
I've got this high expectation of the Alphas, only because, firstly, they've got a great driver in Pierre Gasly, but also they're the sister team of the Red Bull. And we know the Red Bull.
Same engines.
Yeah, same engine, and probably a relatively same philosophy in terms of aero. So I was pretty surprised to see them go out by the skin of their teeth in Q2. I mean, the funny thing here is Pierre Gasly's time in Q2 was actually faster than what Carlos Sainz managed to post in Q3. So
yeah,
but we know what happened with Carlos Sainz there, and he was just a bit unlucky with the red flag.
We're looking at the surprises, the surprise of Q1, and that's normally a good thing. We always say a pleasant surprise. The bad surprise was Carlos Sainz, after genuinely, being quicker than Leclerc most of the time. Fluffed his lines. Yeah, the red flag made a difference. I think there was something about they wanted to do 2 push laps and then start... 2 warm-up laps and then go for it, but didn't get the chance. Then he ran wide, lost the rear a little bit and aborted.
I don't know if they wanted to do 2 warm-up laps of Sainz on his final hot lap, or the fact that they were pushed for time and he had to rush his out lap to get his hot lap in. So I think one thing he complained about was his tyres just weren't in the zone and weren't at optimum.
They had planned, what's his name, Laurent Mekiesel. He came out for Ferrari and said that they wanted to do 2 warm-up laps. Didn't have the time. And that's what they were doing with Carlos. But yeah, they fluffed it.
Just to run through the running order of for Q3 for the top 10. So we've got Charles Leclerc number 1 with Max Verstappen just behind him, locking out the front. I think that's going to be a feature for the rest of the season. We've got Sergio Perez, so we've got a system where we've got a 2 versus 1, 2 Red Bulls to the 1 Ferrari up at the top there. Lando Norris did pretty well to get his McLaren into 4th, beating both Mercedes and his own partner Daniel Ricciardo. And number 8 was Esteban Ocon. Number 9, Carlos Sainz, who we spoke about, just couldn't put the package together when it really mattered. And Fernando Alonso, who was an absolute stormer, had a hydraulics failure, which meant that he didn't actually post a time in the end, even though he was on a pretty decent lap. Number 10. Any surprises in Q2?
Mick made it through. Now that shouldn't be a surprise, but it was just a surprise to see the Haas. I think they've just had a poor weekend not putting it all together. I thought Mick would be further down. It's nice to see him finally challenge or even beat K-Mag, who wasn't feeling well all weekend. Nonetheless, you got to beat what's in front of you and your teammate first, and he's done that. The AlphaTauris were, as you said, a bit disappointing, not into Q3.
Yeah, just from my perspective on Q2, I think the surprises for me in Q2 were obviously Valtteri being in Q2 and going out in Q2 with the Alfa Romeo, and the performances he's been able to pull out the bag. Certainly, I think Pierre Gasly missing out on Q1. I mean, he'd be awfully disappointed with that. Last year and the seasons before, you'd say 11th place, free set of tyres. I'll take that. And sometimes a free set of tyres on 11th is better than a fixed set of tyres in the top 10. But this season, we know that there's a free choice of tyres. So 11th is what it is. In terms of strategy, he'll probably be fairly limited compared to the guys in front of him. Mick also, you mentioned it as well, him beating K-Mag, and you also mentioned that K-Mag was not feeling well over this weekend. But as you say, you can only beat what's in front of you. So yeah, I think from 11th through to 15th was pretty fair.
Do you know what the other thing was? The best part of quali was, at least on the UK TV, to have Günther Steiner on the pit wall throughout. That was my favourite part of those early qualies.
There's only one problem with having Günther Steiner on the pit wall. Is you want to hear the commentary and you want to hear the cars, but it's all bleeped out because Günther's talking.
I want uncensored Günther.
Do you think Sky Sports should do do their own channel just for Gunter Steiner, where they don't worry about Watershed and they can just do all the swearing they want?
I don't think it's just Sky Sports. F1 have to do it. The owners need to just have the Gunter edit of every race where we can just have the cars go around and then Gunter's radio.
I like it. Q2 then was Pierre Gasly, followed by Valtteri Bottas, Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, and then Mick Schumacher. Okay, surprises in Q1.
There are only really 2 talking points, right, in terms of positions. And the first one being Albon did well to beat a Haas, because Haas have looked good for the last 2 races.
But Albon's got a free place grid penalty for the race.
Albon,
yeah, for his collision with, I think it was with Latifi last week. Sorry, Albon wouldn't have crashed into Latifi, it would have been into somebody else. But certainly he's got I think it might have been Stroll, perhaps. But he's got a free place grid penalty, so he's actually going to be starting, 19th? So,
fair.
Nothing doing.
I think to be honest, about everyone below 16, I'm a bit pessimistic. I don't think they're going to do much, and I think they're just going to drive around slow. They didn't look at the races, the teams looked off the boil.
What did you think about the Stroll-Latifi situation?
In truth, I thought it was Latifi's fault. I'm shocked Stroll got a penalty, but I think what may have added to Stroll's...
Has he actually received a penalty?
It's 3 place grid drop, from last to even laster.
What, they will inform that tomorrow, or they will inform that
today? After quali finished, they went to the steward.
No, I'm just wondering whether they would fine him or whether they would enforce it at the next race.
See, I thought that if you're on the back of the grid, it should carry on to the next race. When say you qualify 17th, and you get a 10 place drop. Then you take your 3 places now and then take the other 7 on the next race. So you fully pay off your fine effectively.
Well, it's something we used to see quite a lot. We used to see when, say if it was a gearbox changed in seasons of past, we used to then see teams totally rip out their car in Parc Ferme and take the hit on penalties because they already knew they were lost.
Exactly.
So it didn't really make a difference. But I think those rules are still apply. I think, Stroll will have to take his hit this week. Which is essentially a net zero result because he was dead last anyway.
It's funny. It's the battle of the daddy's money and poor drivers in Latifi and Stroll.
Is it in that order? Poor drivers and then daddy's money, or daddy's money, poor drivers?
I mean, I'll give it to Stroll. He's improved significantly where he's a genuine, Formula 1 level driver.
Yeah.
Just definitely not near the top. And Latifi is a poor driver.
They need to do something about him because he's just not... He's not contributing to the team as much as he should be. Apart from a money perspective, he's not contributing where he should be.
Bro, this is a Canadian turf war is what it was. The Stroll versus the Latifis. They're going at it for Toronto or something.
Yeah.
On a serious note, it was just... It was so weird, strange to see. I was just lost for words. Still am lost for words. I think Stroll got the fine, the penalty, because... He blocked about 4 other... He's blocked Carlos Sainz. He blocked Hamilton. I think in every free practice, he blocked someone. So, yeah, he deserved to be fined. Penalised. However, for the incident, I thought Latifi was just being a bit too brave and got caught. My personal opinion. I'm curious to know how you saw it. I don't think...
I think all was going well, while Latifi was on the left-hand side, letting Stroll through what he thought Stroll was doing a hot lap, and it was quite obvious that he wasn't, so Latifi wanted to take position again. But in Stroll's defence, the racing line, I believe, for that specific turning, was actually to Stroll's left. So I think he was trying to give way on the left, not expecting someone to overtake on the right. So I think there was an element of that.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, the first thing you learn on the road is before you make a turning, you look in your rearview mirror, and it's evident that he either A, didn't do that, or the rearview mirrors, as we know them in Formula 1 cars, are just counter pieces. Really, they're just there for the sake of being there, just to appease the regulations. Okay, just a quick one on the race for tomorrow. Then, what do you think about strategy for the race, and how do you think it's going to unfold, and who do you think is going to win it?
I'll let you go. I'll let you take this one first.
Well, from a strategy perspective, I think that Red Bull have the upper hand because they got 2 drivers to 1. Leclerc, we know, is very good off the line. We know that. The tyres have been quite interesting this weekend, where they've gone with the C5 and then not including the C4 and gone C3 and C2. So there's a step in tyre difference. So it'll be very interesting. And they're lasting. I know there's issues with these cars and heating up the tyres. I also know that the tyre blanket temperatures has been reduced by about 30 degrees. So I think a lot of the cars, especially the Mercedes, is having issues with tyre warm-up.
It's not only the Mercedes. Did you watch the free practice? What happened was when Charles came, I don't know if it's FP1 or FP2 on Friday. I mean, whilst it's 4 in the morning and I'm a bit groggy, I was watching that and he comes out the pits. Tyres are cold and he tries to take that, the first right turn.
Yep.
And he's gone off more or less into the gravel.
Who was that?
So it'll be Charles Leclerc.
Oh, this is when he was doing a practice start. He was doing a practice start, wasn't he?
He did the practice start out the grid.
Yes.
Off the from the pit lane. Yes.
He was doing a practice start. It didn't have it warmed up. Didn't quite make it yet. Hit the gravel. I mean, it wasn't too emphatic. It wasn't that dramatic either, but it was a telltale sign of things to come.
Yeah, I think if you got the run into the first corner, then you're going to be overtaken down that straight, for sure. It'll be bread and butter for anyone on the grid.
In terms of the race tomorrow, I think for Carlos Sainz it's going to be damage limitation. In terms of the race winner, I think how Perez performs tomorrow is going to play a part in the race winner. And that's not to say that I think Perez is going to win tomorrow. I think it's out of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. But if Perez is able to support Max and stay close enough to stop the undercut, then I think that actually it keeps Verstappen in the window. And you know what? This is the first time we've been in Australia in 3 years. We got 3 DRS zones. We've seen already in free practice 3 and in quali twice where we've had crashes. I think the safety car is going to come into play and potentially a red flag as well.
Yep, I think Latifi and Stroll get off the line, crash into each other, first lap safety car. No, serious note, full agreement. It is a strategic race, and I think the Red Bulls are in pole position to bully the Ferrari.
One word, who's the winner?
My heart says Leclerc. My brain says it's Max, isn't it?
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to go Charles Leclerc for the win tomorrow.
Charles Leclerc.
And to get redemption for the last 2 weeks ago. Thanks all for tuning in. If you enjoyed that, hit a like, share and subscribe. Leave a comment below. And stay tuned to see a review of the race.